What's up, Gemini? This is your 2026 full year forecast, and I'm going to go through each month. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share my video because this year I'm really trying to make my dreams come into life. And so I'm trying to monetize my channel. So if you can help me do that, that will be great, Gemini. And let's get started. We're going to go month by month. So, January 2026, Neptune is going to enter into Aries. This is your 11th house, Gemini. And so this is a house of groups and aspirations. I think that you're going to have a heightened intuition when it comes to who's your friend and who's not your friend. There can be visionary ideas that emerge within friend groups, within group projects. So be looking forward to connecting with different people. There can be new connections that feel very faded and aligned and that really support your long-term goals. I think that with Neptune, it does bring some type of confusion. So it may bring some confusion around social loyalties or even idealism, and just the reality of friendships, right? Definitely choose wisely. With Neptune in 11th, it really brings this spiritual leadership, like this visionary collaboration. You are able to be like into the ether. So your vision is very, very specifically destined for you to bring out into this reality. So definitely be open to networking and finding these solutions in networking. So moving on to February 2026, Saturn is going to be in your 11th house as well. And so that right there is giving you these discipline and these new horizons. Saturn is a very strict planet and it deals with limitations, but it just wants you to take the responsibility of committing to these long-term goals or projects. And you can feel tested even with Saturn in the 11th house around friendships, around networking. It is really time for you, Gemini, to build structure in these collective projects. Really avoid like relying solely like on your friends or on other people for progress. You have to rely on your own dreams. You have to realize that this is your dream, and though the 11th house is like working with people, connecting with people, this is something that if you want to bring into your life, you really have to take responsibility for it and believe it. I think that like in February, there's also going to be an eclipse, right? An eclipse within your ninth house is going to be in Aquarius. And, I think that that's going to bring a lot of new pursuits when it comes to educational paths. It's like your mind is really opening up and embarking on these spiritual journeys. It's going to be at a later degree, but expect these opportunities when it comes to expanding your worldview, and that is going to help a lot with your new horizons. The ninth house activated is about philosophy and higher learning and our higher self, and these are the things that you may really focus on in February. And even with the conjunction in February as well, it's going to be a Saturn and Neptune conjunction at the 0 degree in Aries in your 11th house. This is aligning you. This is newly aligning you. This is a fresh start, Gemini. It really does feel like it's a fresh start within friendships. You meet someone new, like you're really starting something that is that you didn't think that you were going to start. It can feel like you just pulled it out of the ethers and now you're actually working it and making it a reality. So you have to align with these visionary ideas with tangible action, because that's what Saturn is going to demand. And work, like I said, working on bringing your dreams into reality, but through discipline, effort. And because this conjunction is so freaking big, because Saturn conjuncting Neptune at the 0 degree, it's meaning like this is like a fresh new beginning. So it's meaning that the ball is in your court and you have to really bounce the ball. You have to really get things going, and it can happen, Gemini, if you really just work on it. And Saturn is going to be in Aries for the next 3.5 years. So keep working towards it, because Saturn will bring you long-term abundance. And this is the house of gains, the 11th house. So your long-term goals will be made real, and it can bring you long-term financial abundance as well, because Saturn actually likes the 11th house. Okay. And so moving on to March, there's going to be a lunar eclipse in Virgo within your fourth house. And so here, we know, well, I know, I'm going to tell you that the fourth house in a lunar eclipse, just because the moon is naturally ruling over the fourth house, this can be really big when it comes to family, home, and even security, like emotional security. There's a combination, or there's really emotional clarity that comes in your home life and family matters, even your living situation, Gemini. These emotional roots really may demand your resolution. I think that you need to create a stable, like a stable foundation, even a stable boundaries at home, and start releasing these outdated patterns. This can be pretty emotional, and it is not the emotional that everyone sees, but it really does weigh heavily upon your core self, because the fourth house is like the based line of our charts of how we feel and how we react to things and who we are alone. So it's like sitting with yourself, feeling these heavy emotions. Don't judge them and don't try to intellectualize them, because these are meant to be felt and moved through. There's a reason why this is happening, and only you would know, because of course, it depends on your chart and the aspects that the lunar eclipse is making on your chart. But, ultimately, you have to realize that there's things you have to let go, controlling patterns at home, setting boundaries. If your emotions are too big, set boundaries, spend time alone, spend time journaling, spend time doing something that can let these out in the most healthiest way. In March, we're also going to have Saturn sextiling Pluto, and this is your 11th house and also your ninth house. So these two are going to be activated, and the sextile is a pretty good, aspect. Aries and also Aquarius, you have to think about harmonizing. Like, sextile is about harmonizing, but like harmonizing your social networks with your personal growth and higher learning, and really strengthen the foundations for your future ambitions. As I said, there's a lot of focus on making your dreams real, and making these real through the truth that you stand upon now, Gemini. Uranus is in your sign as well, and I'm going to get to that because that happens, I believe, in April. But Uranus is going to be in your first house, and Uranus is going to promote change, intelligence, and you exploring these mental patterns that you have. So please be ready for personal growth and even higher learning. And this is all having to do with your future ambitions. Okay, so really pay attention to that in March. In April, because Uranus is going into Gemini in your first house. This is about your self-expression, your personal expression, the self. The any planets that move through the first house are so important, and they honestly weigh heavily on our body, as well. And so you can expect to what do you call, like when you like you get wider. It's like your face gets wider, your nose get wider. Gemini, Uranus can actually make you get wider, but the electrical charge that it will bring to your brain, Gemini, there's no one that's going to be smarter than a Gemini rising, than not even freaking AI. Like, you are truly activating the AI. And this is in your approach to life. So it's going to be so many sudden shifts and changes, and you're going to feel this strong urge to personally reinvent yourself. I would suggest that you really do embrace change, because this change is experimenting with the things that you think and testing your communication, testing your personal branding, what you say in this world, and who you think you are. It's really having you have this fantastic and really fascinating creative self-expression. So I advise you to really explore that. Uranus in the first house really does it really does maximize all that it can inside of your mind. Like your brain becomes even, much bigger. So definitely be open to that. And honestly, shifts in personality as well. Like your personality can definitely shift during this time. So moving on to May, Gemini. Um, so Pluto is going to be going retrograde in your ninth house. Of course, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for many, many years to come, over a decade, and you're going to get used to this energy. But Pluto is searching for the truth within the ninth house, searching for the truth that has to do with collective consciousness, that has to do with why we're all here, how we're all connected. And remember that everything is connected, and we're even connected through some shadows as well, Try not to trauma bond or try to overly empathize or sympathize with the next person. But that's what Pluto is trying to get. It's really trying to get to the bottom, and underneath these dark places that we find ourselves. And it being in the ninth house, this is the exploration. You're really, like, spirituality really becomes entangled in all your connections. And you're going to be deeply reviewing your review, but deeply reviewing your belief systems, and deeply reviewing like your long-term visions. This is a time of like reevaluation when it's going into retrograde. However, you really have to accept, because it's going in retrograde. We talk, long distance travels is in the ninth house. You want to be really mindful of where you're going and what you're doing, and being careful around other people, because Pluto going retrograde really wants you to look at the inside, not so much the outside, but also the outside can kind of show you your shadows. Like people that you meet can mirror back your shadows. Even your higher self can become so active within your mind, and you're now having these like quick revelations of, well, dang, I am kind of manipulating, or like, dang, this has really traumatized me for longer than it should have, or I have so much, I don't really trust friends, or I don't really trust this. And they can come to you so sharply that you may think that it's the other person, right? But these are things that are mirroring something inside of you, and it could be the other person. And, that would get you to really expand your, belief system. It could be, there's a lot of things that can happen with Pluto, just because it's a psychological planet, but it's also a planet that's trying to destroy what is unuseful. So also in May, Mercury, your ruler is no, I'm actually not going to do that one. I already said that. I don't know why I'm see that. But let's move on to June. So June, Uranus is going to square the North Node, and Uranus is going to be in your sign. And so, if we just talk about like Uranus, this is sudden awakenings, right? You really can't pinpoint what Uranus is going to do, or the sudden shock is really something that you don't know about. But when it comes to your personal identity and your relationships to others, you want to really pay attention to those things. You want to align yourself with freedom, and even relationship destiny can be tested during this time. Be flexible with like partnerships and these unexpected insights that redefine your relationship roles. Uranus wants freedom. They want to be free. So you want to be free within your mind, within your space, and a little bit detached if the other person is not willing to move as fast as you are. And if they're not a Gemini, or they don't have like a real active Uranus planet in their chart, then it's really hard to expect them to be as intelligent as you are, or move at the fastest, like a really fast pace as you. So really don't expect you from other people, Gemini. And then also Mercury retrograde is in Cancer in June. So this is activating your second house of finances, and The second house has to do with our materialistic possessions, our values, and finances. So there may be some delays in financial matters or some revisions that you must revisit. You must reassess your approach to outcome and to your self worth. And because Mercury is in retrograde in the second house, I would suggest that you are thinking about saving. You're thinking about how you can increase your finances, but you don't want to think about this in an ordinary way. However, you don't want to make concrete decisions and buy anything and just, buy things to help your emotions feel better, because you may lose something financially or you can gain something financially. It really does depend, all upon your chart. However, you're not doing these things based off of feeling. They have to be, I will wait till Mercury goes out of retrograde and then really see, hey, what am I, why would I want to buy this? Or what do I need to spend this for? Or what is really going on with, my self-worth? I really would advise saving in the month of June. So moving on to July. So July 2026, Neptune is going to go retrograde in your 11th house. So here's a reflection of these social ideals that you have and, these spiritual aspirations that you have within groups. I think that Gemini, you're going to be so in tune into like these hidden dynamics, these spiritual pursuits that have to do with the collective, and even friendships, and seeing yourself in friendships, mirroring yourself in friendships. Just a lot of lessons around friendships and the people that we surround ourselves with. They really are going to teach you a lot over the next 14 years. So be mindful of those. And, like I said, when Neptune goes into retrograde, it's really thinning the veil so thin that, it's things are moving much slower, but really differentiate between the physical and the spiritual and realize they're all one. And the spiritual is used to help you into the physical, but obviously the spiritual reality comes first. You can't be blinded and blindsided or delusional about what you actually feel, what's actually going on. You have a heightened intuition about these friends. So yes, definitely be mindful of that, Gemini. And July, Jupiter is going to be opposite Pluto. And actually, Jupiter's going into Leo, right? And that's at the end of the month. But Jupiter going into Leo, this brings um Leo is such a sign. Every time I talk about Leo, I just laugh because Leo is a sign that it's ruling over your third house. So it's like, this is a sign. When Jupiter was in my third house, I was so talkative. It was fast paced. It was so much that would come to my mind that I had to say, and I was speaking so fast and I was like spitting, and it was all types of crazy stuff. But it being in Leo, it gives you such a confidence boost to really speak your mind, and you want to make sure you're not speaking from ego, or you want to make sure that it's not amplified in the way that yes, I would say egotistically talking and thinking that, everything, even though it's like you kind of do, like, right? Because you're speaking from your heart. You have Uranus in your first house, but you don't want to come off like that towards other people, especially the community around you and your neighbors and people that you surround yourself with. You really want to use it to speak, Gemini, to speak from the heart, to speak to uplift someone, to speak to shine the light onto someone else. And it being opposite Pluto in your ninth house, you have to really be mindful that you're not spreading these like ideas of like, you're not forcing your ideas on someone else, and you're like, I know this is true, like, I don't know how you don't believe this, like, that one is really impactful. It's going to impact your communication, your conversations, and the way that you relate to people. And you really want to be um you're going to expect tension, behind like your personal passions and also the collective responsibility. So just be very open, because you will be tested on your creative and romantic pursuits. And I said romantic pursuits, but it's almost like anything, because Jupiter rules your seventh house. It's like, be smart, Gemini. It's very hard to explain because I'm not even a Gemini rising, but the way that information is going to hit you, it's so fast that I would just write it down, or I would make videos about it. Or even with Jupiter in the third house, you can make videos about it. You can help other people become as smart as you, or be able to really crystallize and bring down that higher information to the physical realm in the nicest way possible, right? Because Leo is ruled by the heart, but your Aquarius wants to be the one of one, and in a way that it is. However, you have to spread these things to radiate light in the next person, right? And so that's where the confusion, not even the confusion, that's where the clash really comes from, right? And then it can be controlling issues, it can be power struggles, it can be like overly fixated on your impact towards people, but I think that the gift here is your impactful action that you're going to take, and aligning your creativity with these community project or anything that you're working on with other people, but let it really personally transform your way of socially interacting with someone else. So the North Node is going to shift into Aquarius, and it's going to be in your ninth house. And so Aquarius, the North Node in the 11th house, excuse me, the North Node in the ninth house, this is really destiny. Like, there's so many places that you will be pulled, and North Node wants to go somewhere. Like, Rahu wants to really go somewhere, and even Pluto being in this house as well and giving this activation, there can be faded connections that really may emerge. Like, destiny is now really emphasized in your belief systems, in your travel, your education. You're definitely going to want to learn more, or you're going to want to teach. I really would suggest that you're teaching in some type of way. It could be like I said, you could use Jupiter and use the internet, or you can travel, or you could become a teacher, or you can do a blog, or you can do something, but you really do have to teach something, Gemini. And I think that the universe is actually going to position you to really let out and spread your ideas. The North Node and Pluto activation in your ninth house can bring so many different ways to see the world, that your perspective is something that we need to know. Like, it just needs to be known. And I think at a point in 2026, you're going to see, like, people actually need to know this. They need to know this, but make sure that you're telling us in a way that is welcoming, that is revealing, and that really emphasizes on, like, bringing people together and bringing harmony towards people. The North Node actually likes Aquarius, so you really can go far with the things that and you really can change the world by the things that you believe in. It's just so fascinating. It's just so magnificent. I mean, I don't know what type of words to use to just say that you, Gemini, are becoming the real AI. The information that you have, we truly need. Moving on to August. So August, yeah. There is going to be an eclipse in Aquarius, right? Wow, it's going to be a lunar eclipse in Aquarius. And there's going to be a, just adding so many things to your ninth house is just so crazy to me, because that means that your way of life is really going to be like crystallized in who you are as a person. It's just something you can't run away from your destiny, Gemini. And I think that this is a real emotional what do you call it, a combination of some sorts, where you really have to come to terms with something that you have believed, a place you have gone, letting go of something that people have taught you or that you've learned from someone else. And I think that you, even with the North Node and, this eclipse, all these things activating your ninth house, like you could really meet someone who's willing to teach you. And this can be such a grand teacher. This is a teacher that you have probably been waiting for, your whole life. You didn't know you needed it, but now you need this teacher. And there's so many allies that you can gain, and there's just a letting go of the old version of something and really embracing the newest change. And because it feels like it happens really fast, or is really like you're moving towards it, and it can seem pretty tough to let go. You know what I'm saying? To let go of something that you've believed your whole life, or to let go, or to travel somewhere and then, you learn not to trust this or not to trust that. That one really does vary, just because, the eclipse does bring up emotion, but with the other activations, they bring up this much needed directional. How do I put it? It's almost like destiny is pushing you somewhere. But think about it, if it pushes you away from other people, that's really emotional, knowing that people can't go with you or things of that nature. But, this year really gives you a peek at it, because Pluto is going to be there for a long time. The eclipse season is just emotional. We don't know what's going to happen during that time. It's just, it's a really crazy time for the world. And so at the end of the month, there's going to be a solar eclipse in Virgo. And so that's going to be in your natal fifth house. Your natal fourth house. So, So at the end of August, this solar eclipse is bringing new romance into your life, new things into your life, your creativity into your life. A solar eclipse activates the sun, and you want to get excited, and the sun is naturally ruling the fifth house, so you want to get excited about stuff, like your personal joy, romance, even, creativity. You can meet someone during this time. You're going to meet so many people, especially with that North Node. You're going to meet so many people that impact your life over the next decade in and they're going to seem like they're meant to be in your life, or this is something that is fated. So start aligning yourself with passion, real passion, and that creative passion, things that actually mean something to you. And it's not going to be what everyone think it is. It's not going to be even kind of what you think it is. It's just something that's going to fall, like I said, out of the ethers, from the sky. And so September, there's a lot of reflection happening. I do think that the only thing that may happen is Uranus going into retrograde. And there's a lot of reflections, a lot of lessons that are learned from the eclipses, even with the Jupiter-Pluto opposition and the North Node shift. There's a reflection on your identity. There's a reflection on personal creativity, the social groups and social goals that you may have. In October 2026, Venus is going to go retrograde in Scorpio, and Libra as well. And so that's your natal sixth house. You are re-ramping what it means to love yourself enough to get up and do the things that you need to do for yourself. And sometimes we have to really cry, and we have to really let it out, these emotions. And, we have to let the sadness go from our bodies and our energetic bodies. And you have to reevaluate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And if you have to put in something that is emotionally releasing for you on the day-to-day, and whether you have to speak from a place of, empathizing, or having more compassion for the next person because of the traumas that we all experience. This is really like a activation or reflection of the relationship that you get into, the people that you surround yourself with, even financial entanglements in some type of way, the mental formulas that you do. But I really think that this is trying to get you to put in a way to emotionally release your heavy emotions from your body. And that can come in as, weightlifting. It could come in as yoga. I just know that the past dynamics are going to resurface for you to really have some type of resolution for it. Mercury is going to go retrograde also in your sixth house. So there's going to be misunderstandings with people, with collaborators, with negotiators, and you have to really clarify your day-to-day activity in order to clarify what you're agreeing to on the day-to-day activity basis. You have to make time for yourself. I think that's what it is. And even the heavy emotions that you may have, like other people may have to be sitting down for a second as you get yourself back up and back together and start releasing these emotions that you may feel. And November 2026, Venus and Mercury's retrograde is going to end. And so you're going to feel more strengthened in your commitments and understandings and things that you're doing, even partnerships and communications, like the clarity is going to return. Do not fash, Gemini. You will be... you won't be the same again in relationships or relating to other people. There's a level of compassion that you must have for yourself in order to have for the next person. So that time really is going to teach you about yourself and about the way that you love other people and the way that you allow other people to love you. And in November, also, Uranus is going to be trining Pluto. So Uranus is sitting in your first house, right? But it's in retrograde. And so think about, Uranus, the first house. Why can't I get this out? It's probably because I'm almost done and I'm getting like fumbling over words. Like this trine in trines are really flowing well. They have a great flow. So it's like embracing this smoothness of integration of personal transformation within your social evolution, within your spiritual evolution, within yourself, the way that you are, transforming in this world. I think that there's a lot of things that can manifest for you during this time just suddenly, but only based through truth of who you are and where you're headed. You really have to be truthful, Gemini, with yourself and what you believe in and what other people add to your world. And I think that if you are like manifesting something, even though we're constantly manifesting, right? That's under this trine, it can actually show, right? There's a special evolution that happens for you and happens in the house of your belief system, pushing you forward. So December, Saturn is going to retrograde. Oh, Saturn's retrograde is actually going to end, and Neptune's retrograde is actually going to end in December. And so, if we talk about the 11th house, right? Aries is ruling over the 11th. You can start to integrate lessons from your friends, from your social dynamics and even the visions that you have for work and, what you're trying to sustain long term. Saturn really will bring you something, even Neptune, that you dreamed of, but you really have to work hard at it. You really have to have discipline on it. I would advise when Saturn and Neptune are in retrograde that you don't stop working, even though you could be facing other things like yourself, like you are rapidly changing and rapidly upgrading, that things just are moving fast for you. But stay aligned with your networks and your personal goals and your higher purpose, Gemini. This year is going to drive you for personal transformation and embracing freedom of expression. And even when it comes to group expectation. You know, you things are going to test your intimacy, your agreements, your collaborations, but you really want to stay involved, you know, in the world in some type of way. Even though you may be going through something, you even though you may be going through something within your own development, and you know, you, like I said, you have to personally transform. I think that these things are going to be easier for you because you are a sign that can change. You know what I'm saying? And even growth is happening for you. But also, it's like you're refining these long term visions. So, a lot of things are changing rapidly for you, Gemini. Be open to learning and be open to exploring yourself and the new versions of yourself, and even your spiritual growth. Be open to that, Gemini. So yes, that's all I have for you, Gemini. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please, and don't forget to comment and like and share my video so you can help me, Gemini. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Good luck, Gemini. Bye.